mechanical systems, by your ventilation systems, by your lighting, by your computer loads. There's programs out there that all your listeners should download off the EPA.gov website to make our computers, which are one of our biggest connected load users in our office buildings and our schools, using a ton of energy, and needlessly so, that by downloading simple programs, we can have our computers automatically shut down and go into a low power mode whenever no one's around. And we do that in our buildings too. We have occupancy sensors and daylight sensors, so that when no one's in a room, the lights shut off. Or when there's enough daylight to meet the foot candle requirement, the lights dim. And we have some of those strategies we're bringing to our buildings. But Lord Kelvin said that you can't improve what you can't measure. And so measurement and verification of what is green is critical, and that's one of the passions I have, one of the reasons I've become a LEED accredited design professional, and we're working on some buildings that will be LEED certified. So that's a third-party objective organization that comes in and reviews what you've done and tells you how green your building is. And there's 4 different levels, sort of like the Olympic, silver, gold, and there's even a platinum level, which very few buildings attain. But there are critical ways and important ways to measure how green your building or project is.
Now, with all the knowledge that you have about this, let's say we reach a point where there is no more oil in the ground. Do you think that with these new technologies going forward about 30 years, we would be able to sustain ourselves without any oil?
Well, Daniel Nocera, who's a professor at MIT, is working on something called artificial photosynthesis. Yeah. And what he's trying to do, and he's actually developed a technology that takes sunlight and water and separates the hydrogen from the oxygen. Dr. Nocera believes that the only way we can sustain ourselves as a planet is through solar energy. Right now, the Earth uses about 13 terawatts, or 13 trillion watts of energy. It's sort of like a 13 terawatt light bulb. Every day goes on, and our planet uses that.
Right.
By the year 2050, when our population is not 6 billion, now it's 9 billion, he believes we're going to need 30 terawatts. That's 17 more terawatts of energy, and he's trying to find where to get that. He said if you build a nuclear power plant every day and a half from now until then, you're only getting 8 terawatts. If you put a windmill on every square foot of the Earth, you'll only get 2 terawatts. But every day the sun bathes the Earth in 800 terawatts of energy. So that's really where our future lies, in solar energy. And Bucky Fuller said that decades ago.
Now, do you ever think about the problem with running out of water?
Yeah, there's only about 1% of the water on the planet that's drinkable. 97% of the water is saline, caught up in our oceans. Out of the 3% that's left, 2% is tied up in glaciers, and another a bit is tied up also in groundwater. So 1% of all of the water is drinkable. And as I said earlier, we take more water out of the ground than we put back in. So a lot of the water saving strategies are critical. As I said earlier, we're working on a desalination plant, and it takes salt water and takes the salt out of it, and it needs to be a technology that certainly in certain parts of the world is critical, because they have no fresh water in many parts of the world. You would think here in the Northeast, where we get 3 to 4 inches of rain a month, that we wouldn't need to desalinate our water. But this is right here in the Hudson Valley. It's actually going to be the first desalination plant on the Hudson River. There's one that just went online in Boston, just outside of Boston. There's one down in Cape May and in Florida. So many of our communities are running out of water, and we need to first protect the amount of water that we do have and be more intelligent about how we use that water. We could cut our water use 30 to 40% in our existing buildings today just by using some intelligent strategies. As I said earlier, we're capturing rainwater now and using that to flush our toilets in our office building, and 60% of the water we use in our office building is for flushing toilets, which seems you don't need potable water to do that, or to do laundry, or to irrigate your landscaping or your athletic fields. So it's an important thing that we need to do better at.
Now, we have about 2.5 minutes, and I remember walking in the streets of Manhattan around 42nd Street. There's this building that went up, the Bank of America building.
Great building.
And I remember seeing signs that this is an energy efficient building. Did you pay attention to that building a lot?
I was in it just a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and it is actually the first green skyscraper in the world, certified under this LEED, L-E-E-D certification process. And it's got all of the technologies that are out there, the latest and greatest stuff, from daylight harvesting to energy efficient lighting and HVAC systems. It really is a state-of-the-art building. Some would say it's hard for a skyscraper to be green. Just imagine all the resources that go into building a skyscraper, and we see some more integration into the landscape as being something that's more sustainable. But there's no question that our cities are going to be here for a long time, and because of the density of a city, it actually is more sustainable, uses less energy, and to get people from one place to the other, that we use so much energy in transportation, for instance, reaching to some of our outlying suburbs. So it's important to think both in an urban environment and in a suburban and rural environment how we can be more sustainable.
So is that building really a model for the rest of the world?
Oh, without question that it's being studied, and people are looking at what's doing that. And there's even theories out there now in ways of bringing more photovoltaics to a building. I don't think it has a lot of photovoltaic solar power coming to that building. And most of our solar panels are only about 20% efficient. Out of those 800 terawatts of energy, when we don't convert enough of it to electricity. So we still are challenged to burn coal, which about half of the electricity that we use each year is burned with coal, and in the United States, and people don't realize that. Oil is a very small part of our electric generating capacity. But solar power and other renewables, it's only 2% of our electricity in the country is generated with solar energy and other renewable energy. And that actually increased. It doubled in the last 8 years. And under the present administration, we're trying to double it again. But that's still only 4% of our total energy use here in the United States. Nuclear is about 20%, and hydroelectric has a big factor there. Natural gas is about 20%. And there's some interesting things happening with natural gas that can help us and be sort of a bridge to a renewable energy future. But where any kind of fossil fuel is not renewable, we will run out at some point, and there's arguments about when that exactly will happen. So we need to think long term and make sure we plan appropriately for a sustainable, greener, more beautiful future.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's really been a joy to hear that you know all this. And anyone who wants to find out more, they can find you at Michael Shilale Architects. You have a website?
Yeah, it's www.shilale.com, and you can search for Shilale Architects, based in Rockland County, but working regionally here. We just did a child care center in Newark, New Jersey, which is an exciting project, seeing 215 children in a brand new, bright, lit building that previously, these are all 3- and 4-year-olds, and it really makes a difference in their lives. And there's some recent studies out just in the paper today I saw that if you have children in a quality preschool program, they do so much better in their K through 12 years than children who haven't had that strong foundation. So again, that's my passion. It really has been great to be here again, Clive, and I'm happy to come anytime you'd like to chat.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much.
My pleasure.